So in this unit circle, we have point P, and we have point P reflected over the x-axis. And point P is cosine theta comma sine theta, and when reflected over the x-axis, it's going to be cosine negative theta comma sine negative theta. And we can see that the x values of the 2 points are the same. So therefore, cosine negative theta is going to be equal to cosine of theta. And we know this because those are the two x values of both the points. On the other hand, the y values of both the points are going to be opposite. And what I mean by that is the y value of this reflected point is going to be the negative of the first point. So therefore, sine theta is going to be equal to negative sine of negative theta. And this also means that sine of negative theta is equal to negative sine theta. We can also figure out what the relationship between tan negative theta and tan theta is by using these identities we have discovered. So, tan negative theta is equal to cosine theta, because normally we would put cosine negative theta on the top, but it's equal to cosine theta, so we can replace it with that. Over negative sine theta, and same logic for here, we'll replace negative sine and negative theta with negative sine theta. And we get tan of negative theta is equal to negative tan theta. And now we can see we have discovered 3 identities, and these are all known as the negative angle formulas. Because if you look at each, you can notice that each of them have cosine, sine, or tan of negative theta, and set it equal to some other thing in terms of cosine, sine, tan of regular theta. Now let's do some problems where we have to use the negative angular formulas. So first, we have this problem where it says simplify sine theta plus sine of negative theta, and we know that sine of negative theta is equal to negative sine theta. So we can replace that with this in the original expression. So sine theta plus negative sine theta, and this just equals 0 because it's just the same thing by negative, and you're adding them together, which means you get 0. Now let's do another example. Here we have both sine and cosine of negative theta, and we can simplify sine negative theta into negative sine theta, and cosine negative theta into cosine theta. And those are both already identities we talked about. We already know this. So we simplified sine negative theta over cosine negative theta into negative sine theta over cosine theta. And this just equals negative sine theta over cosine theta. And sine theta over cosine theta is tan theta. So this is equal to negative tan theta. But another way to do this, which is arguably easier, is we can notice that the thing inside both the sine and cosine is the same, which is negative theta. So we can simplify this into tan negative theta directly. And we already talked about the negative angular formula for tan, and tan of negative theta is just equal to negative tan theta. And yeah, there are both ways to solve this problem, 2 very easy ways. Now let's do some practice problems. If you think you know how to do this one, then pause the video and try it for yourself. But this one is asking to simplify 3 sine theta minus sine of negative theta. And what we can do is replace the sine of negative theta with negative sine theta, because that's what the negative angle formula says. So now we have 3 sine theta minus negative sine theta, and this is equal to 3 sine theta plus sine theta, and we get 4 sine theta, and that's our final answer. So 3 sine theta minus sine negative theta is equal to 4 sine theta, and we solve that using the negative angle formula for sine. Now let's do one that's a little bit more tricky. If you think you can still do this one, then pause the video, do it. But this one is asking to simplify cosine negative theta times cosine theta minus sine negative theta times sine theta. And what I notice is that we have two things that we can simplify using the negative angle formulas, which are cosine negative theta and sine negative theta. Cosine negative theta is just cosine theta, so let's just rewrite this expression using that. Cosine theta times cosine theta minus, and sine negative theta is equal to negative sine theta, so replace it with that, times sine theta. And what we can notice is that cosine theta times cosine theta is just cosine squared theta, so cosine squared theta plus, because we can turn this double negative into a plus, so plus sine theta times sine theta. And same thing here, we can turn the sine theta times sine theta into sine squared theta. So cosine squared theta plus sine squared theta. And if you watched our videos on simplifying trigonometric expressions, then you would know that this equals to 1, which is our final answer. If you haven't watched that video, then I would recommend go watching it, but if you haven't, then all you need to know is that this expression is equal to 1, and that's our final answer. So cosine negative theta times cosine theta minus sine negative theta times sine theta is equal to 1. Now let's do one last practice problem. If you think you know how to do this, then pause the video and try it, but this one is asking to simplify negative sine of negative theta over cosine of theta. So for the top, we have sine of negative theta, but we have a negative at the beginning. For now, we can ignore that and say sine of negative theta is equal to negative sine theta over cosine theta. And we should move this original negative to the front right here. And I can notice that there's a double negative, one in the numerator and one at the beginning of this fraction. So they both cancel out, and we get sine theta over cosine theta. And sine theta over cosine theta is just tan of theta. And that's our solution. This is our answer. So negative sine of negative theta over cosine of theta is equal to tan theta. So everything that I explained in this video and all the problems that I did should teach you everything that you need to know about the negative angle formulas for sine, cosine, and tan. If you learned something from this video or if you enjoyed it, then consider liking and subscribing.